guys, I'm a few minutes late, so I'm gonna wait for some people to show up, I hope. Hey Andy, how you doing? Took me a minute to get my internet set up. It didn't work the way I thought it was gonna work. So I've got my iPad over here trying to do so I can read the comments. Hope everybody's having a good Labor Day weekend. Hector, hey Hector, thank you. I appreciate you, man. In a 78, what size radiator? What engine do you have? And do you have air conditioning? Where are you? That kind of stuff. Ridson and Rome Model Railroad. Hey, man. I'm kind of quiet. Let me see if I can fix that. Does that help any on the quiet? Andy? Let's see. 355, no AC yet in Wisconsin. Okay, well, you're not near Georgia, so you probably don't need as much radiator as we would. You know, I mean, really, the radiator sizing thing, give me a minute, I'm gonna get to that. Let me get my volume figured out. '68 Nova. I've never owned a '68. I've owned right at 40 Novas. I've never owned a '68. I've never come across one that was in either back when they were real cheap and good enough shape that I wanted it, or that now, you know, they're priced ridiculously. Because sound good on my end? Okay, cool, good. Thank you, Bipolar. Okay, sorry, Andy. I mean, I think some other people are okay with it. I don't. I'm using my iPhone. My other setup, I couldn't get the Wi-Fi done, so we'll see if we can. We'll see if we can do it better next time. All right, on a radiator. What I'll try to explain is this. On a radiator sizing, there's a couple of things you can do. You've got transfer efficiency, depending on the type of radiator it is, whether it's copper or whether it's aluminum, how many rows you have. Sometimes the heat dissipation of 2 big rows is more than 4 small rows. You have 4 3/8 or 1/4 inch rows in a stock style radiator or factory style radiator. You've got 2 1-inch rows in something like the radiator I've got in here, and it's going to dissipate more heat. Plus, this is aluminum. So I would go with a nice direct fit aluminum radiator, and I think the 2 large flat rows instead of 3 or 4 of the small rows, in my experience, works better. But really, most of the time, it's not the radiator. Most of the time, it's airflow. It's like 90% of the time, you're not getting enough air into the radiator or across it. And then if you are, you're not getting enough air out of your engine bay. So, oh wow, a lot of comments here. Good to see you. CJ Townsend, thank you. Good to hear from you, buddy. In a 78, I do not, a 68. The radiator support is different than a 6 and a V8. I don't think they are. Only if you got the big block, the radiator support was different as far as I'm aware. 4 Picks Chicken Soup. Like your videos, keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I don't know where y'all are at tonight, but it's hot here. Mainly because I was running back and forth between here and the house trying to get the Wi-Fi figured out, and I didn't. So I'm just using my phone and my iPad, which both have service. So. If y'all got any questions, man, just shoot them out to me. Let's see. Michael Moore and door window hardware. Well, junkyard. Call some of the, there's a lot more dismantlers out west. Desert Valley, they might have some of that stuff. Really the best suggestion, especially on anything 73, 74, get on Facebook, go to the Chevy Nova 73, 74 group. David, Kim, William, they all do a fantastic job moderating that site. They don't put it with any BS, and there's a ton of helpful people on there. Also, non-specific 73, 74, and 73, 74 also has a separate group that's hatchback and another separate group that is your BOP, your Buick Olds and Pontiac X bodies. So like I said, that one little bubble right there, tons of information, and there's really no rude people or any BS. Like I said, they do not put up with it. So if you go there, be nice and be kind, because they'll boot you if you don't. Also, 62 to 79 Nova Nuts, lots of people on there. Really, when I need something weird, I go to Facebook groups, and if somebody isn't already advertising it, I ask, and somebody usually has it. So it's not difficult. Now, there's some things that are just really hard to find. Hopefully that's not one of them. Okay. Biggest pitfall of roll bay roll cars in the state of Franklin Nova. Okay. Yes, I do have a Facebook. I have a Shop209 Facebook and my personal. As far as the biggest pitfall installing a roll cage, I bought the brand roll cage I bought, and you can watch the video, I'm not going to say it here. I have put in one roll cage kind of before. I put in a roll bar before. And the one I put in before was Competition Engineering. It fit great. In this one, the biggest problem I had was the main hoop was meant to be attached to the rockers, but it was so far in that it wouldn't attach to the rockers without me spreading it out. And then it was going to be half on the rocker, half on the... It really needed to be taller, because by the time you cut the bottom to fit where you wanted it to be at all, it's really too short. I can sit in that seat, and with my helmet on, I'm below the top bar, and that is it. I mean, I'm probably barely legal. I think you have to be 3 inches below the top of the main hoop. The rule book says it must extend 3 inches above driver's helmet. So I think that's the top of it. So the top of it, I'm probably right at the 3 inches. If I put a turkey aluminum seat or something like in there, I'll be fine. But with that old cheap plastic seat, I'm right at there. And then I just wasn't happy with it. If it weren't for that main hoop being so short, then the front halo bar I could have put in, and it would have been up high enough, and I could have made it work okay with that. Like I said, some of the bars weren't straight. The down bars in the back, the two that it came with were too short to bend them at all. They were going to have to go straight down through the back, and I wanted the seat saver bars, which, I mean, that's part of the kit. They'll work the way they design a kit. Like I said, it's not a terrible kit. Sure ain't for a beginner. So if you're a beginner, you need to probably call S&W or one of the companies that makes a better kit that fits really well. And there's some out there that are completely pre-notched and fit for your car. Oh, plus I'm a crappy welder. That wasn't great. Thank you for explaining a little bit about expansion recovery coolant tanks. All right, so expansion recovery coolant tanks. Well, basically, if you have the right type of radiator cap and you have that on there, it'll push coolant into your tank as your radiator needs less fluid. I haven't thought about this and how to explain it to someone, so but it'll also suck fluid back out as the RPMs go up and your pump starts moving water through there. You create a negative pressure. If you've got the right style radiator cap, there are some out there that won't work. They're made to seal the radiator and blow off, and that is it. But yeah, if you have the right style radiator cap in there, you can actually use that tank correctly. So I'll do some more information. I'll do some research on that, and I'll do a video just on that here if I can find out good enough information to explain it well. Because a lot of people have problems with airflow radiators, radiator cooling, that kind of stuff. No luck on other sites, no joy with paying an arm and leg. I completely agree. Just landed some pretty extensive corrosion, or the body panels I'm finding online worth a dang, and if I have to replace things. All right, so body panels. Now, if you have a 73, 74, most of the body panels are interchangeable. The roof skin works fine. You just have to, around the top of the corner, you're going to have to trim some and do some fabrication there. Everything else on the roof skin is the same. The quarter panels, everything from the middle of the quarter window, below the body line, and back, and then up around the quarter window. Basically, only around the quarter window where the body line is different. Everything else on there is the same, other than the part where the tail lamp is, where the tail light is different around there, and then where the turn or the side marker hole is farther forward on the 73, 74 nose. So, and then your doors are a little bit different. So most of the replacement sheet metal for the 68 72, if you buy it from AMD, is fantastic. Even the good mark stuff, the Sherman stuff, a lot of those parts are pretty good. Most of the stuff that's not AMD is almost all made by the same company, Golden Legion or something like that. They just have it packaged in their containers for each person that's selling it. More door Nova, yes sir. I've got a 72 4-door. And my iPad is a little bit behind the phone, so the questions are getting to me a few minutes late. And hopefully this coming Friday, depending if I haven't checked to see if the track is open yet or not. If the track is open and the weather's good, this is going to the drag strip, so I'm looking forward to that. A proportioning valve. On this car and on my 73, I've got a Right Stuff disc brake kit, and it came with the combination valve, which is proportioning valve. Now drum brakes, one of the cars I'm fixing to do is going to have all drum brakes on it, and it will not have proportioning valve on full-wheel drum brakes. You just have a distribution block. And in the 60s, and somewhere around 1970, they changed this. I'm not sure how. They used to have 2 or 3 separate valves. They had your proportioning valve and your check valve and all that stuff was all separate. And then they put it all together in around 71 or 72 into a combination valve, which is what most, you can still buy the other stuff, but which most disc brake kits come with is a combination valve. We got 13 people watching. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Where are you guys from? I don't know where everybody's at. We got Wisconsin. I know we got Wisconsin here. Did you ever put a parts list for the tip over jig? Did I miss it in the video description? It's sitting right there. Really, it's I kind of put out the dimensions, and the parts list is really a couple of sheets of plywood and a few 2x6s, like 10 feet long. I'll look through the video and see, and I might add a note to the video. I might pin a comment on the video if I can figure out what all parts I used. I did a couple of things on there that I would do different. So when the car is up on its side, the way the weight was distributed, I would probably hang the 4x4 that was under the front, mounted to the subframe attachment. I would probably attach that to my side piece differently, just because when I turned it over, where the stress was at was a different spot, and it was worrying me the whole time it was on its side. Idaho, Kansas, Chicago, Ohio, Houston, awesome. You know, I almost said Houston because here in Georgia, I live in Houston County, and it's spelled Houston. So we think Sam was wrong. And points if you know what I'm talking about there. That's hilarious. Trust me. Ohio, all right. Chicago. Okay, Hector Duck. There's probably gunfire close by. I'm just kidding. That's not funny, but it's funny. Hopefully you're nowhere near any gunfire. 74 Nova different in the floor area behind the front seat in the rocker area where a roll bar would mount. No, it is just behind the seat belt bolt rocker for the back seat. Not that I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure they're not. Might be a tad bit different, but I don't think there is. All those panels are the same. There are some subtle differences to the floor pans. starting in 73, but it's mainly like a little bit of basically the design of the reinforcements, the stamping. It really, there's nothing structural or functional different about it. Bipolar Garage. Thank you. Hey, you're welcome. Thank you. David Whitaker, Kentucky. Whitaker, I'm not sure. Kentucky. Cool. I was gonna try to do an LS swap and go to Bowling Green for the LS Fest, but I'm in the heating and air business, and Georgia has been brutal this summer, and I don't have any real good help other than one guy. So it's been me and him all summer, and I ran out of a lot of time, which is why I haven't put out a ton of videos in the last 4 months. Have been getting work done, but getting the work done and the videos edited, any kind of family time, and getting everything put up has been difficult. Michael Moore, thank you, sir. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. And eventually I will get I know I'm mostly a third generation guy, but eventually I'm going to get a 62 to 67. 66, 67 probably out of my price range, unless they're set on fire and put out by a train. I can probably afford one, but 60 to 65, which I think they're pretty cool anyway, I might end up with one of those. What bucket seats recommend for the 78 that's decently comfortable for daily driving in the summer and fall? I'll be honest with you, the bucket seats that are my favorite as far as factory stuff that you can reasonably get are the same ones that I've got in my 73. Now my 73 is a Nova Custom. It came with a factory floor shifter and straddle buckets. So you're basically your 73 to 70 or 81 Camaro seats are the same seat, but the tracks are different. So if you can get a set of the Camaro seats and make the tracks fit or weld you in a bracket or something like that so they don't sit up too high, and use those, I like those. They do not recline, but they're comfortable seats if they're in good condition. If not, I mean, honestly, the Scat Pro Car seats, my buddy Craig, the guy that's got the Dart, he's got the Scat Pro Car seats in his 73 Challenger that is a beautiful car. And they're very comfortable. Side bolstering, they recline, and they fit well. So if not, like I said, you can get, I know some guys have used the 95 or to 2000 or so Camaro seats or Trans Am seats. They take the headrest out of them and have that part covered over because with the headrest they're a little too tall. 73 trunk floor panel swap. Mine is rotting. I was told to use 74 tank and floor panel. Okay, let's talk about the trunk pan on the 7374. Now the trunk pan on 7374 is different than the 6872 by a mile. Now, the side of it is fine. So pretty much it's the center area and the cross rail area. I'm looking at the 69 behind you that I can't show you. But, so what they did was they put a larger gas tank in and they basically have a hump. Now, the left side of the trunk pan, driver's side is pretty much the same, except for where the cross rail goes across. So the back of the hump where it goes up to the filler neck is higher and a little bit different. So is your trunk latch. It's shorter because that part is higher, and the rest of it is basically the gas tank's different. It's a 21 gallon tank, I think, so it's higher on the passenger side. So what you can do if yours is rusted out because there's no replacement trunk panel available, you can take a 68 to 72 trunk pan and you can put it in and basically use a 68 to 72 tank. Now, what I did on a Franken-Nova was I kept my trunk floor, even though it's got some rust in it, some holes in it, it was pretty solid. It does need some patching, but it was overall pretty solid. I made a spacer that took up the difference of the extra space in the 73-74 tank, and I mounted the 69 tank right up to it with 73 straps because the strap location is higher on the 73 tank on the passenger side. So I used 73 straps and used the factory holders and basically did that, and then I since it's a 69 model tank, I used the filler neck, since I cut the cross rail out, went through the correct location for 69. Now, if you're going to keep the 73-74 tail end, what you can do is you can do that same thing, and you can get one with a removable neck, and you can put a rubber coupling in there. But, because my tank's in ink tank, or my Holly Sniper tank, for my Terminator that's in my 73, the rubber coupling cracked after a year or two. So if you get one with a rubber coupling on the filler neck, make sure that you check it every once in a while to make sure that it hasn't dry rotted or cracked or anything like that. All right, let's see here. St. Paul, Minnesota. Why no garage doors? You know, I've been waiting a year and a half for somebody to ask that. All right. So Danny, let's talk about garage doors. I built a shop, and when I first got it built, it cost way more than I wanted to spend. So I didn't have any money left to buy the doors. But what I did was, I don't know if you guys have noticed, you can't see it in the camera right now, but I've got two giant 18-inch steel beams in the roof of my shop. I wanted an upstairs because I'm a musician. My upstairs is going to be a music studio. I still haven't finished that. But I wanted a larger upstairs. I could have went with attic trusses, but attic trusses I would have had like a 14-foot wide room upstairs because the extra webbing would have taken up a lot of the side. And I wanted a much larger room. So I decided to go, I wanted a 12-foot wall so I could put a lift in. So I went with steel beams so they could stick build the upstairs. And I've got an 18.5-foot wide by 40-foot room upstairs. My shop's 30 by 40 with 12-foot walls. And when I got done with all that, because of the extra cost of the steel beams and that kind of stuff, I didn't have any money for doors. Well, then me and my wife, the outside of the shop is like a Oxford brown color, really dark brown. We've got wood siding on our house. It's cypress stained siding. We wanted the shop to match. It does, but we couldn't find any doors that we liked that looked that way. Then I decided to build some doors, or have someone build some doors. And about every time I save up money to go ahead and put doors on it, I spend it on more Novas. That's the truth. So I've got some money saved up right now, and I'll probably do doors really soon. And I'll just have to put I'm going to have to put side motors on them because my steel beams are in front of where my door will be because I want them to go all the way to the ceiling. So I'll have to put a side lift motor on the door. Hector, thank you, sir. Bipolar, thank you. I try to get out good information. I'm sure some of what I say is wrong or not great, but I try not to. I don't like looking stupid, so you know that I got that going for me. Coolant additive or Mountain Dew? Yes. That is poison, and I drink way too much of it. Yes, sir, Danny. No problem. Mike's out too. You know, I watched a few of your videos too, man. You got some interesting stuff on your channel. I don't get to watch, and I know some of you guys have channels. I don't get to watch YouTube as much as I would like and comment. And actually, some of you I'm subscribed to on my personal channel, not my Shop209 channel. So you may not think I'm subscribed to you, but I am. 74 and the interior pieces. Well, you're lucky. Is it a hatchback, Justin Taylor? Or is it just a, oh, they're hard to find. Okay, sorry, the rest of your comment came through. What do you suggest? Again, hopefully they will start making 74 interior pieces. I started looking into a 3D printer, and I was going to make my cell panels for this one, the rear cell panels, interior panels, and I looked at doing the, maybe some 3D printing, some A-pillar covers, stuff like that. But by the time you buy a 3D printer that will print the stuff that large and a laser scanner to scan a good part so that you'll have a blueprint for it and you can actually print the part, you're spending a lot of money. And plus I don't have any experience with a 3D printer or a laser scanner. So if I were to do it, the learning curve would be steep. I have no idea how it would turn out, and I'd probably have $7,000 or $8,000 invested in the first attempt. And even if you're selling them for, you know, $300 a pair or something like that, which is probably what they're worth if they're brand new and great fitting, you'd be, even if you're selling them at $300 a pair, trying to get back $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 at $300 a time would be a losing proposition. It's not a hatchback, okay. But that's better because if it's not a hatchback, it's way easier to find. Building a Pro Touring car, yes. Really, when I put the Hotchkiss springs and lowered the 73 Nova in the video, I've got coilovers on the front. I want to do a Pro Touring. I've got a video coming up sometime. It'll probably be the spring, because by the time I get the car set up the way I want to do it, what's going to happen is either I'll probably mini tub a car for that, so it won't be the 73, but I'd like to go to Pro Touring car, and I've got a couple of interesting road trips planned. So, and if I do the Pro Touring car, I'm going to do like a Ride Tech or Detroit Speed, and I'll do it. It'll be an expensive build, but yeah, there's a guy Justin making cell panels. Country Boy Gas Garage, what's going on, dude? All right, 73 Nova, Rod Cleveland, 73 Nova stock 307 stock intake carbon air filter. What type of intake upgrade do you recommend? Just want to open up a little bit, still has stock exhaust. Honestly, with the 307, I don't know what your experience level is. If I was going to do it, I would try to find a late 70s, early 80s. They make a spreadboard intake. It's an aluminum intake, and it's got like a waffle grid pattern on there. It was on Monte Carlos, some Camaros and stuff like that. And it is a carbureted intake spreadboard, and I put a Quadrajet on it. Because unless you've got a 600 Holly, and most 600 Hollies, they don't have that. I'm not a fan of like the one I've got on the Henry J. I'm not a fan of those small Hollies. I like the 4150 carbs, not the 4160s, I think. I might screw that number up. So I would put a Quadrajet on it if you're going to put a 4-barrel on it. If not, I would, and, you could use a Performer intake. They're probably easier to find. Get an Edelbrock Performer intake or something that's a spreadbore intake. I would not use a spreadbore adapter on a square bore intake, unless they're a pain. You can do it. I've done it, and I might do it in the future. But I would, yeah, the 2-barrel, yeah, that's the stock. And like I said, sometimes a brand new 2-barrel would make a big difference, but without the exhaust, you're not going to notice a giant difference, other than your park throttle and stuff like that. But wide open throttle, you won't notice a giant difference. Michael Moore, you did Speed Tech. Did you do the front and rear 4-link, or what all did you do? 30 years now, yeah. So Country Boy Gas Garage, you're probably close to my age then. I've got my 73. I've had it since 93. My first one was a 71, and I got it in 92, and my senior year of high school. And I sold it, bought it back, sold it again, but I've had this one since 93, and it's not going anywhere. Starting on a 71 Rally Nova, was your wife's dad's EFI LS Walk, something like the Holly Sniper. It has a 4-speed I want to keep. Man, when it comes to fuel injection, I like the Holly Terminator, and the reason I like that, and I'm not bashing the Holly Sniper at all, but the Holly Sniper has the ECU on the carburetor throttle body, and I'm not a fan of that. You can get a Holly Terminator Stealth Max, or no, the Max is for the transmission control. A Holly Terminator Stealth X, or Holly Terminator X Stealth. That's it. I'll get it right in a minute. And they're not a whole lot more than a sniper kit. So, and I've got a video coming up on a Terminator fuel injection install. Do you have merchandise for sale like t-shirts? I do. I have some Frankenova t-shirts, and I will go back to this video after we're done. I went to Redbubble and set it up. I had Javier Mirror with Bonneville Art and Design did a sketch of, or he did a rendering of Frankenova for me, and turned out fantastic. I put it on a shirt. I've worked a couple of videos, and you can go to Redbubble, and I'll try to put a link in this video after we get through the live feed, that you can go if you want to get one of those. It's not a great deal on the shirt. The shirt's a very nice shirt. It's very comfortable. It looks good, but I think it's like $25 or something like that. I can't control the price too much on there. You kind of pick what you put your design up and pick what you want it on, and that's pretty much it. And I'll get some Shop209 stuff. I've kind of thought about changing the logo a little bit, so I will have some merchandise eventually. That a Finnegan 55 Chevy shirt. Yes, it is. This is a Blasphemy shirt. I'm a huge fan of Finnegan and Roadkill. Finnegan lives here in Georgia. I've met him a few times. He is one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. I met Aaron Kaufman from Gas Monkey and Finnegan the same day at Jekyll Island at the Caffeine and Octane Jekyll Island show. And both those guys are unbelievably nice. So it was very cool, very cool. From GT Assault package in the rear torque arm. Okay, cool. Front GT Assault package in the rear torque arm. Michael, is your car mini tubbed, or what size tires are you running? Because I'll probably do the mini tub and then maybe the Speed Tech, maybe the Ride Tech, maybe the Detroit Speed. I'll have a look into all of them when I'm doing it. But yeah, Finnegan, like I said, super nice guy, super nice guy. And I met him and David Newbern, Emily Reeves, Michael Cotton. They were all at a drag strip in Georgia. I went up there for that. I want to meet Freiberger one day, and Dulcich. That'd be cool to meet Freiberger and Dulcich both. And I've got a new build coming up that I'm going to start on. I may give you an idea of what it is before October, but the build itself is going to start first week of October. Let's see here. And it takes a while to film some of this stuff and do it. So actually, I'm going to stop this in. No, I put dual exhaust on stock manifolds on a 72 I had with a stock 307 in it, and I'll be honest with you, the exhaust made a huge difference because the stock exhaust was junk. Now, if you have good stock exhaust, you might not make a difference if it's got the I can't remember if 72 was the first year of catalytic converter or not. I think 72's had a catalytic converter on them. So if it has the catalytic converter on it and where you're at, you're allowed to remove that, that will make a big difference, because those early 70s catalytic converters, man, they're big, they're heavy. Heck, you probably make a weight difference, performance difference just by weight. But a lot of your, exhaust will make a good difference. Now, it'll sound different with dual exhaust. Excuse me. Yes, mini tub, sun press connectors, Viking double adjustable coilovers. Yeah, you may have. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to do autocross with mine. I want to take it and do a video where I go to autocross, and then I've got a road trip planned for it. That'd be pretty cool. Justin Taylor, everyone that watches your channel probably agree. I've seen more explanation on those and actual know-how from your videos than most other I've seen. Very appreciative. Justin, I'm humbled. Thank you. I'll explain some of that. Number one, I just don't want to do the work. I don't want a lot of my videos to be how-to videos, but I want them to be informative. So I want to explain what I'm doing, and I'm not the be-all, end-all by any means, but there's a lot of guys on YouTube that are way smarter than me. There's some real dummies on YouTube too, though. you find them sometimes. I can't believe things people say. But anyway, I've done HVAC work for 30 years, and I've had a business for 20, and most of the people that have worked for me, I've trained them from not knowing a whole lot at all about it or nothing up to being fairly good service techs. So I've learned how to communicate with people. I think maybe I have. I've learned how to communicate with people, how to instruct them on certain things like that, to where I can transfer the knowledge to them in a decent way, I guess. So thank you. And a lot of times I'll research stuff if I don't know enough about it, or I'm afraid that I'm going to have a hard time remembering stuff, I'll refresh it. So, Kermit's. Hey, Kermit. Brett, yes sir, cool, New Zealand. I'd love to visit New Zealand, man. That looks like a pretty cool place. Have you ever had problems with heat soaked carb? 73 Nova 2 barrel with early evap starts fine in the morning but requires throttle down after motor get hot here in Texas. Yeah, I have. I used to have one that I was, actually that car, when I first got it, it had a 2 barrel on it. And I had a heck of a time, getting it. It would, as soon as I'd stop somewhere, I worked about 30 miles from home and I was driving it to work every day. And I would, stop at the store or something to get gas on the way, and I'd have to play with it to get it cranked with spinner. But heat soak on a carb is usually get your engine cool first. Your engine's probably, if you don't have a temperature gauge, you've got an idiot light, then you're probably running hotter than you think you are. Stuff like that. Usually, if you get an aluminum intake, stuff like that. If you don't want an aluminum intake, just make sure all your stuff's cleaned out good and working properly. Usually something else is wrong. It's not. If it's all stock, it's usually not a design problem. There's something wrong somewhere. Let's see. What do I daily drive? All right, Michael. I've got a 2015 Z71 quad cab or crew cab. It is a 2-wheel drive Z71. 2015 was the last year of that. And it's got a 5.3 with a 6L80 in it. And in case you're wondering, it cost about $3,500 to have a 6L80 rebuilt. I just found that out the hard way. But I've got a bunch of work trucks, so. And then my wife, most of the time we're driving a 2018 Jeep Wrangler 4-door, Willys edition. Willys. Looking for some good mid-length headers, full length drag to ground. I don't want to lose the stock all in her mouth. All right, so headers. I don't like shorty headers. I don't like block hugger headers. Mid-length headers, you're going to have to look. When it comes to headers, you get what you pay for. If you buy some cheap headers, they're not going to fit. They're not going to always fit great, especially with power steering. If you got column shift linkage, stuff like that. I'm running some 26-year-old Flowtech headers on that I bought at AutoZone. And I split one of the tubes. I was running it with nitrous and split one of the tubes on it years ago, drag racing. And so the driver's side, one of the tubes got a whole bunch of welding on it where I patched it up. And but yeah, mid-length, I mean, probably if you're going to go with something mid-length, I would try to find some nicer headers, some Doves or something like that. They're expensive, but when you go up to a lot more expensive headers, the fit is really, really good. And a lot of those companies, you can call them and tell them what all accessories you have on your car, and the best thing, or they make brackets, to power steering alternator brackets that fit around the headers. How long have we been online here? Let's see, about a half hour. So Brett from New Zealand, what's the temperature like there? Is it hot or cold? I don't know if it's summer there or winter, because I know my daughter went to Australia to study abroad for 6 months, and it was winter there while she was there, and then she came back here, it was winter, so warm today. Okay. Coming into summer. Okay, so we're going into fall. And in Georgia, we really don't have seasons. We've got summer about 11 months out of the year, and then we have 1 month of winter. It's not unusual to have an 85-degree Christmas. January and February are usually the only 2 months that we really have any. October can be cold sometimes. This year may come early, but we'll have a few weeks of Michael Hutchinson. Thank you, sir. But as far as brand, I'm running Hedman headers on this one, Flowtech on that car. I think it was 58 degrees here today, and then it was 87 later, so it was about a 30-degree swing today. Any other questions? People starting to drop out, that's fine. And I might start doing this once a week, once every couple of weeks. I'll do a live thing if you guys like it. Keep you updated on projects. And now looking at the screen here, I know my shop's a mess, but I'd rather work than clean. Doug's headers are nice, yes. '72 Nova, rear of the car sits lower on driver's side. Replace leaf springs and shocks. Any suggestions? Okay, so if you've got a car that sits, if it's been worked on, if it's been modified, make sure someone didn't actually put a Camaro leaf spring perch on the front, because the Camaro leaf spring perches have a different depth setting. As a matter of fact, if you look at the video where I put lowering springs, the hot shift springs on the 73, if you're not using the Camaro front perches, the 67, 68, 69 Camaro front perches, then you won't get a 2-inch drop. You'll get like an 1.25 inch, 1.5 inch drop. So I would check that, and then make sure you don't have a rusted frame rail or any damage or something like that. I'm not sure how much difference you've got. Selling any extra parts soon? Well, I've got so many Novas that I don't sell a lot of parts. Now, occasionally I'll have some extra parts. I've got some 4-door parts. I'm not really, at this moment, I'm not planning on building a 4-door Nova, but I've got a 72 4-door that I'm going to take apart. And when I do that, I'll sell the parts, but I'm leaving it together until I can figure out exactly where everything is, because that car's never been really molested other than a couple of parts, and I don't want to lose that blueprint of how the factory put everything together. The 307 instead of the 307, you mean 307 again soon? Yes, the 307 will be running soon, and I'll have it in the car doing some burnouts and drag racing. But yeah, I don't sell too many parts, Rod. Really, it's I've got so much stuff that I hoard stuff. I buy a lot of stuff, but I do have some 74 stuff I took off this that'll eventually get sold. The biggest problem is small stuff I don't mind shipping, but big stuff, if you want it shipped, man, it is such a hassle that I don't really like doing that. Car vapor blocked off the exhaust port running out of the intake. Yes. Velcro makes a gasket. I think I have some here. That has a metal insert that blocks off the heat riser, and I do that on every motor I've got, because I never use a choke stove or anything like that, or EGR. Where I'm at in Georgia, there's no inspections on emissions for any vehicle, new or old. Now Atlanta has them, but not where I'm at. I'm south of Atlanta, about 90 miles. Evapo Garage. Hey, don't apologize for questions. That's why I did the live video. Cool. 78 first build. No, that's cool, man. I would love to go to Disco Nova. My best friend had a 76 when we were kids, and we got it running and drove it home and worked on it for about a year, and then he sold it. So never drove it. But we were 15. So the cooling system. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I need to get 307. But Harold Sebastian, not sure. Hello from Kentucky. Hello to you, Harold. Thank you. I will be doing a 305 build. I'll probably do a turbo 305 build just to see how much boost a turbo 305 will hold before it blows up. And I was trying to get Frankenova ready for Rocky Mountain Race Week. I was going to take it out to Oklahoma and do that. I don't think I'm going to be able to go, not because the car won't be ready, but I've got other stuff coming up that is going to mess up the week. But I would love to do a drag week, Rocky Mountain Race Week, that kind of thing. That'd be a lot of fun. I actually signed up for Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0. I'm on the waiting list. But some other stuff came up that I'll have to go do. Yeah, I hope you guys like the 307. Yeah, it's pretty mean little sounding thing. It's gonna be quicker than most 307s. Now my buddy Toby Purdy, he's got Purdy's Custom and Performance in North Carolina, I think. I think it's North Carolina. Toby, I'm sorry if you're watching this and I don't know, but anyway, he's got a Nova with a 307 in there and it runs really well, really strong. And I'm going to compare my time when I take my car to the track to his, because his runs pretty good. He bought it and it had a decent cam, so he doesn't. I'm not sure he knows what cam is in it, but it runs really good. The 307 can be very lumpy. It is a 280H, and if you look back in the video, I was running that thing in the short video I made of it cranking up and idling. It was running at about 1,500 RPM. I've got the carbons back on Frankenova at the moment. I had the choke linkage disconnected and it was hanging up on the other side. Thank God it didn't stick while I was wrapping the throttle up when I was off camera. But it was keeping the throttle blades from closing. If you'll notice the video, I kept trying to idle it down and it wouldn't idle down, and that's what was going on. So it would sound a lot, it sounds a lot lumpier once I got that figured out. It's got a good chop to it. And I might have a video of that. I might do another short. Later, Michael. Enjoyed it. Thank you. Yeah, I've got two more 307s. I've got this one. I've got a 72 Nova with a 307 in it, and I've got another short block in storage. I wanted to do an all forged bottom end and put 4-bolt caps on that block, but I couldn't get all the parts I needed at the time because of the pandemic. Everybody's sold out of everything, and the lead time on stuff plus pistons were going to be like $1,000. I was going to make a serious effort to make some real power after the little race with Craig happened. I wanted to, put some better heads on it and nitrous or something like that. But, all right, I'm going to be on here about 5 more minutes, guys, if you have more questions. Size rear tires I recommend with a Turbo 400 if I was 75% highway driving. Depends on the rear gear you've got. These are 275/60. I think they're about 27 inches tall. They are some really old BF Goodrich drag radials that I used to have on that car. So I'm not going to highway drive with these tires. I've got some different ones put on there. And then I've got some Pro Bracket radial slicks for the drag strip. But it depends on the gear you've got. If you're going to highway drive, I would put a taller tire on it, just so that you can keep your RPM down. I've never done a tilt front end on a Nova. I've seen very few of them that I really like, usually because most of them have the mailbox hood scoop. I'm not a fan of those. I mean, I like some of the older style street freak cars and stuff like that, but it just depends on, usually it's the rest of the car that turns me off, not the tilt front end, but I've never done one. And some of them I've done, or some of them I've seen done are way better than others. 70 with the original 307 going big block. When I change frame mounts, it moves engine over. What trans cross we're going to use 400 because it has offset holes. Okay, so in this one I'm using a stock. It's a new one, but it's a reproduction stock Turbo 400 cross member. If you do that and use the correct big block frame stands, it's going to move the entire engine and transmission over to the passenger side about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. And it'll also be up a little higher also, so that you can have the clearance around your exhaust and your power steering, your steering box. Yeah, and that's the problem, Brett. Custom pistons, usually, so my buddy that's got a shop, a race car shop, and machine work, he does all my machine work. He, when he orders custom pistons, if they have a shelf piston that is close, you can usually get one change item at no extra cost. But the people that allow that are like Diamond or Ross or people like that, and those pistons are already $700 or $800. So there's no low cost alternative. Like I said, I was going to use an LS piston because the original LS1 I think had a 3.905 bore, which is a 30/307. I was going to use that piston, but it's got the same pin, same bore, it's forged, but the valve relief's in there. And really, with this cam, probably wasn't a problem, but I was going to use a 6.2-inch rod, I think, and the stock crank with that piston. And it probably would have worked with a low lift cam, but I eventually wanted to put a higher lift cam, a hydraulic roller in it, or solid roller, and see how stupid I could get with the 307. And once we started looking at the valve reliefs in the piston, they're in a different spot and at a different angle because of the LS head's different valve angle. Danny, thank you. I appreciate you watching, guys. Don't worry, JB's little shop. I'll be here for a minute. No problem, Bipolar. Anytime. And but on the pistons, if you could find you could probably order some 283 pistons and have the pin location changed. That might be the cheapest way if you could call someone Ross or Arius or someone like that. If they have a shelf 283 piston and you can ask them to change the compression height on the piston, that might be a cheaper way, and I did not try to do that. Could you recut the valve reliefs? Probably. You could have the pistons fly cut, but the pistons I ordered were DSS pistons, and nothing wrong with the piston at all. It was a cheaper DSS. It was, I think, the E series, which is their performance replacement. It's not recommended for boost or nitrous. But the material on the back side, there was not a lot. We didn't really check that hard, but there wasn't a ton of. There was not a ton of material on the back side of the piston to start cutting, fly cutting the pistons. They were flat top with 2 valve relief pistons. If it was a dome piston with a solid dome, probably would have been easier. JB's little shop. I like some of your videos, dude. I don't comment or comment on all of them, but I watch a lot of them. I've got a few YouTube channels I like to watch. Lunar Outlaw Garage, Brian. I like his stuff. Obviously, I watch Finnegan's stuff. Cletus, all them guys. DD Speed Shop. Check them guys out if you haven't probably already. They've got a ton of subscribers. And then JB's little shop. Old Man in the Shop, Built Not Bought. I think if I said that wrong, I'm sorry. But yeah, there's a lot of them. A lot of YouTube channels I watch. Heavy Pedal Garage, they're doing a lot. Hot Rods 4x4s. Yes, it was an LS piston. It was I think an LS1 piston. You have to look up which one had the 3.905 stock bore. Thank you, JB. I appreciate it, man. All right, I know I said it a minute ago, but I'm going to give 5 more minutes here. Hope everybody's having a good Labor Day weekend. And originally, the channel was not going to be all nose. And still, it probably won't, but it'll be 99% nose, because that's what I mostly have. I've got a 52 Ford truck here that is a project for my wife. I've got a 53 Ford truck that's still not even here. I've got my wife's got a 78 Camaro. I've got my 51 Henry J. So, you know, I've got plenty of projects to keep going. The paint on the car, no sir. What I'm gonna do with the paint on the car. So, how many people watching? 18, okay. What I'm gonna do with the paint on Frankenova. So here's my plan. I like to play, I like to experiment. You saw the plastic dip on my 73. I got a lot of hate about that, but it really worked out really well. It came off easy. It didn't ruin the paint underneath. A lot of people like the paint, even with the damage on the paint. They like the paint better than the plastic dip, and that's fine. I kind of do too. But the plastic dip was an experiment, and it worked okay. If you do it correctly and you're good at it, it can look fantastic, but I'm neither of those things. So on Frankenova, what I'm going to do is, I like the look of Frankenova. I like the ratty muscle car look. I've got another one of those builds coming up, and with Frankenova, I want it, I'll probably prime it. I'll probably put it in an epoxy primer and then wrap it. I've already got the wrap, so I'm probably pretty sure that's going to happen. I'm probably going to sand it down, put it in epoxy primer, get rid of all the rust, fix the rust, and once I get it in epoxy primer, I'll probably wrap on top of the primer. And the wrap that I bought is going to look pretty sick if I do it right. I've never wrapped anything, so who knows. If I get it to look good, I'll leave the wrap on there, and I'll probably take it to the track like it is now. It'll go to the track like this. It'll be a while for a primer, but I'm going to do a paint video, primer, stuff like that. I'll probably wrap it and then take the wrap back off later and do a paint job on the car. Yes, sir, Brett. Thank you. Any ideas what color I should paint it? What color would y'all paint Frankenova? I love the original. I think it's a bright turquoise blue. I can't remember, bright aqua blue. Can't remember what the factory color was, but I like the factory color. But almost every Nova I've ever known was blue. I won't paint this one blue. The 69 that I'm working on was originally the frost green or lime green, GM frost green, I think is what they called it in 69. So, Mountains Garage, yes. Yes, I have checked out his stuff. Dig in the mitten. Thank you for watching, buddy. Yeah, pretty much everybody, just about anybody. Grease Your Thoughts Garage, they've got a Nova. I think they just bought another one. And then there's, what's the channel? I can't think of the channel name. The guys that just took the 73, I think, that was in a barn fire with the straight six in it and got it running. That was a cool video. Pretty much anything with Novas, I like to watch. Anything with cars, I like to watch. Nobody's going to comment on what color they want Frankenova to be. I'm disappointed. Baby blue. Do I ever go to the drags? Yes. I used to drag race a lot. I used to bracket race that car, and then I had a 71 that I built and would drag race it. And then after I stopped bracket racing, that car sat for about 7 or 8 years when I first started my business, and I didn't do anything with cars at all for about 7 or 8 years, except for read magazines. And then I started building that one again and drag racing it. And then after a year or two of drag racing again, I was like, you know what, I want to drive my car on the street. I want to be able to drive to the Daytona Turkey Run, which we go every year. We didn't go last year because of craziness, but I decided I want to say it was late in September, about this time of year, 12 years ago or so, or 10 years ago, that I was going to take that car apart. It was a drag race car. I was going to take it, blow it all apart, rebuild the entire car in 6 to 8 weeks, and drive it to Daytona. And 5 years later, I blew it all apart, and 5 years later, I put it back together and took it to Daytona with a paint job. And baby blue color, I've thought about doing a Nova baby blue for a long time. It'd have to be the right color baby blue, and I think I've seen a I want to say there's a Lexus or Mercedes or something that I've seen with a baby blue color that's pretty cool. And maybe it wouldn't, maybe since that's, but I would probably do a pearl or a metallic in the baby blue, make it look a little better. 13's on just motor. Which car are you talking about, Michael? A Frankenova? If you're talking about Frankenova, you've hurt my feelings. The 307, I hope so, yes. I think it will. The Frankenova, I really hope it'll run low 12s, high 11s. And then the 307, if I get the converter and gear right for that cam and that engine, I'm hoping it'll run 12s. Now, I don't know if it'll run 12s or not. I'm pretty sure it'll run 13s. 307, yeah. I'm hoping for 12s. The plan is, if it doesn't run 13s, I'm just going to run it off the end of the track. I'm just kidding. It's really, I say it's really easy. It should be pretty easy to make 300 horsepower on a 370 cubic inch motor, and with an aggressive cam and decent heads, headers, and a 4-barrel. Vice Grip Garage, but I watch all his stuff. Derek's hilarious. I don't ever try to be funny because I can't compete with that dude. And I don't think he's trying. I think he just is funny. If he's trying to be funny, he's fantastic. But I think that's just his personality. He's hilarious and wish I could be funny. Kind of like lime green. Yeah, and I might paint this green. I'm not sure about the lime green. But yeah, on the Vice Grip Garage, he built a 307, did a dirt cheap rebuild on it, and some unknown heads with some crappy valve springs and a decent little cam, and he almost made 300 horsepower on the dyno. Now, I don't have access to an engine dyno at the moment, but I do have my buddy that's got this race shop's got a chassis dyno. So what I'll probably do is the 307 will probably go in Frankenova at some point soon, and I'll take it over to the chassis dyno with the 307 in it. The only downfall to that is this has got a turbo 400 in it, not a turbo 350, which is more mass for a 307 to speed. Antique green. Hey, Howard Higgins, how you doing? Antique green. Depends on the gunmetal gray with some black stripes. You know, my wife wanted me to do like a charcoal gunmetal gray color on one of my cars. Probably not this one. It'll probably have something with green, just because it's Frankenova and I've got the green engine and stuff in it. Mountain Dew green? Let's see. So I'm hoping that 307 has roughly 325 horsepower, maybe 350. I mean, I'm not claiming that it has 350, but it'd be nice. I would hope Craig's Dart put down 255 horsepower on the chassis dyno. That was with the alternator belt off. I don't know if I ever talked about it in the video, but when we got it off the chassis dyno, the alternator belt had come off, so it was losing spark. We don't know if it went into valve float because we didn't change the valve springs, or if it was losing spark at a higher RPM because the alternator wasn't putting out. But it kind of, the chart kind of nosedived, the graph kind of nosedived on the chassis dyno on that. Even if he was putting in forest green, maybe, even if he was putting in another 10 horsepower, 265, I would like this to make 265 on the chassis dyno, hopefully. But now with the loose converter, it may not make as much power as his did on the dyno because he had a stock converter in that car, and I think, if not, it was really, really low stall compared to stock, really close to stock. Yeah, JB's little shop, 305s and 307s, they're hard to make power with because of the small bore and the limited cylinder head availability. And it's hard to build compression. You know, the stock heads had 62 cc's or something like that. Those heads had 56 cc's after we milled them just a tiny bit. They kind of surfaced them. Not really milled them, kind of surfaced them. You have to have a decent piston, and then you have to have a really small chamber to make compression on the small bore stuff. But you know, all the LS stuff, the difference in the LS stuff, they've all got really small bores. Some of it has even smaller than the 307. It's got closer to a 305 bore, and they make a ton of power because their heads are amazing. But I did buy a Chinese turbo that I plan on putting on something, so maybe that'll make it onto a 3.0 something. 307 will rev to, with the heads that are on there, 5,500 RPM. It'll probably nose over after that. The cam on that size motor would probably do more, but the heads haven't been ported. I've got oversized headers on it, which will kill the low end, and those are probably, it'll either be these headers, which are exactly the same as those, if it goes into this car, or those headers, if it goes into that car. And like I said, 5,500 RPM, if it had a nice set of heads on it, it would probably do 6,500 RPM, but they're stock 416, 305 HO heads. And they probably won't move enough air on the exhaust for it to go much over 5,500, 5,800. I might be wrong, it might do that. .307s get no love though, that's okay. Porting heads, yes or no? If you know what you're doing, yes. If you don't, probably not. I've got a frozen Mountain Dew. I've got Dave Vizard's, or Vizard, I'm not sure how you say it. He says Vizard, but he's English. Porting heads, most people port them wrong. I've ported a set and screwed them up. And if you leave the intake port alone on heads, the top of the port is usually where all your airflow is, and then on one side of the valve. So pocket porting, and then maybe clean up the valve guide a little bit, but honestly, you could probably get someone to use which is what I did on these heads, use a bowl hog, which is a seat cutter that also cuts part of the bowl out, and it will cut away a lot of the material that you grind when you port, if you pocket port. If you get someone to do a competition valve job on it and do a bowl hog on it, you'll get a pretty good flowing head on just doing that. But yeah, it's like I said, porting heads works. I mean, there's guys that have gotten, you know, V6 or 4-cylinder logo for sale. I'm not sure what you mean there. If you mean the side marker thing or something, I've never even seen a 4-cylinder Nova other than on the internet. Those are fairly rare cars. And as far as 6-cylinder, I think I've got some 250 emblems, but they're not in good shape. But yeah, you know, JD, any head can be ported. If you know what you're doing, you'll make power. But I'm not going to instruct anybody on doing that. I would watch either, what's the guy's name? Does a ton of stuff and he explains a ton. Eric Weingarter Racing, look him up on YouTube. He does a ton of stuff on porting heads, all types of cylinder head. Guy, smart guy. And then obviously get Dave Vizard's book on small block Chevrolets. Depends on what kind of motor you're building, but most of that applies to almost. There's differences between all of the different heads. You know, the Vortex head is different when it comes to porting than the other stuff, but all of that, pretty much the same principles apply to all those heads. All right, guys. Any more questions? Making a mess. Would a set of Vortex heads up the RPM and horsepower? Probably yes. And I probably wouldn't lose any compression. I'd probably have them cut just a little bit. The Vortex heads, you can get some with some smaller chambers. I've got a set of Vortex heads that are cracked that came off of one of my Tahoes that I replaced the engine in. I've got all the valves and stuff like that, all the valves and stuff. The hardware's still good on the heads, but they've got cracks. I was gonna buy a bare set of Vortex heads and build them, but I already had these heads, and I didn't want to have to buy a Vortex intake. That's really the main reason I did not use Vortex heads on this, because they will outflow, the Vortex heads outflow pretty much any other production head that you've got on Chevrolet's small blocks. Thank you, Michael, I appreciate that. But what will really make the big difference in this, if probably with the same cam, I'm going to put the Trick Flow 175 heads on there with the 194 valves. I'm going to put those on there. Now you can run, and I think one of my subscribers has told me he's running 202 heads on his 307. You can do that, and it depends on the casting of the block, I think. You can get away with it. A lot of guys ran 202s on 283s and didn't have any issues. I'm not sure if it'll hurt flow or not. The theory is that the larger valve is so close to the cylinder wall, depending on which cylinder it is and which way your intake port is facing, if the side that it's coming in on is facing the cylinder wall, it's going to lose flow. But we hit 3,600 subscribers today, so that was pretty cool. All right, it's 8:22. I'm done at 8:30, guys. So, you got 8 minutes. I'm gonna go in and start editing another video. And next week, what I'll try to do is I'll try to have my Wi-Fi situation figured out, so I can look at my TV here and look at the comments there instead of looking at this all the time. But this works okay. All right, we got 22 people watching now. It keeps going up and down. It's pretty cool. I didn't know how this was going to work out. I did that live test the other day. Yeah, editing takes a ton of time. I'm not great at it. But I record everything on a GoPro 7, and then I download it onto my laptop here, and I use OpenShot Video Editor. Blue flames on it also. Yeah, I thought about doing ghost flames. I'd like to do that. I don't have a lot of experience painting, but I've got some ideas of stuff I want to try. Yeah, if any of you guys that have YouTube channels, you know what it's like to, you have to move the camera around, you have to make sure it's recording, make sure you don't have, a dog pooping in the background or something like that. If you're outside, you want to make sure you've got what you want in the frame. You got to start recording. I don't rehearse a lot of what I'm going to say. I just kind of say it out loud. So sometimes I'll do something 4 or 5 times, and then the last time is the one I'll use. So it takes a lot to edit out all of my bad language and my uhs. What do I recommend for rust? Depends on what kind of rust. You're talking about surface rust. If you're treating rust, what I do, and I'm going to do a video on this. One of my other subscribers asked me, Fanny. Anyway, one of my other subscribers asked me about rust, and I've got a video coming up on that. I like to use like a grill brush, like a stainless steel wire brush that's really concentrated on the bristles. And I use navel jelly. I put that on the surface rust and I rub it in, and it gets rid of all of the rust. I'm like, all of it. And then I put epoxy primer over there. The epoxy primer I like to use is PPG DPLF, DP90LF, which is nowhere near as good as the old DP90 because the lead-free stuff isn't as good, but I have good results with it. A lot of body guys don't like it, but that's what I use for rust. Now, I've also used Evapo Rust and Metal Rescue. Both of those are pretty much the same chemical. They work really good, but they're not thick, so it's hard if you're on a flat surface and you can soak it in rust or something like that. Evapo Rust works great, but as far as getting rid of rust on body panels, I use navel jelly. The biggest thing is you want to get it cleaned off afterwards, and then protect the bare metal, especially in Georgia, because you can almost literally watch stuff rust in front of your eyes. Humidity is crazy here in the summer. We'll have 25 or 30% humidity in winter, so it's a damp cold. 5 minutes. Easy Elk, I think I said that right. Thank you, I appreciate it. Garage doors or just plastic? Just plastic at the moment. I answered this question earlier, and I blew all my money on building the shop and didn't have any money left over for doors when I first put them up. And I put the plastic up to keep the heat in the winter when it's cold. And then I couldn't find doors that I wanted that were, I'm going to have to paint doors. I was going to build doors, like I said, yeah, I'm going to get doors soon. I'm going to get a slab out front, a driveway to it also. Quarter panels on the 69. Yes, Alyssa, JB, we'll see you later, buddy. Thank you. The quarter panels on the 69. So the 69 is right here. Yes, part 2 of that video is coming really soon. The delay on that was I ordered a trunk pan, an AMD trunk pan that was in stock. That wasn't in stock, and it took a couple of months to get it. And then summer was hit, and I'm very busy with air conditioning work, so I did not get anything done on that. Or I got plenty done to it, but I'll be honest with you, changing the entire trunk pan is a lot of work. So yes, that video is coming up as soon as I can. Do I work on other people's nose? All right, so I've actually had a few people, and I owe Jason, Jason, if you're watching, I owe you an apology for not getting back to you. I got your email the other day, and so I have given a few quotes on work, and I have also talked to a few people about doing some work. There's a guy named Jason. He wants me to do a front and rear conversion on his 73 Nova. Well, I am reluctant to do some of that stuff, mainly because of time. I'm not a professional mechanic. I used to be. For about 3 years, I worked at a shop doing just everyday mechanic stuff, all kind of junk. We did some high performance stuff there too, which was kind of cool. But I'm not a professional mechanic. I don't have any liability insurance. So my wife is reluctant to agree with me to work on some people's stuff. I have taken in some work that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to try to do an electric power steering conversion on a Chevelle coming up. My old boss has got a really, really badass 67 Chevelle, I think. And I'm going to look at putting electric power steering on it. And that thing, I think, runs down in the 8s in the quarter. It's fast. But as far as doing work on other people's cars, I barely have time to work on my stuff, and the last thing I want to do is get someone's car in here, planning to do a bunch of work to it, and it gets stuck here because I'm busy. So at the moment, I'm not going to do that. In the future, if my YouTube channel picks up, it's a possibility I would open a shop and do some stuff, but there's already a lot of people doing it, and there's a lot of people around my town that do that kind of stuff. I'd love to do that. I'd love to quit doing air conditioning and just do car stuff. I'd love to be full-time on YouTube. But that's a long way off if it ever happens. So I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm not doing it for money because I sure don't make a bunch of money on YouTube. I do make some money, and I'm grateful for everyone watching, but I don't make enough to do that. So don't worry much about video text. It'll be good to add to your, yep, Carrie. Yeah, thanks, Brett. Wiring my shop edition. Yeah, I wired this one, and I've got to do a lot more. A heat pump. It has a 10-inch round looking tube battery. That is a air handler. I'm in the heating and air business, so I've got another one over there. Really, it's just an air handler. It's got a coil in it, but it's never been hooked up for AC. It's just got a 12-inch, there's 14, That's a 14-inch. It's got a 14-inch elbow on it to blow air out. I've got the other one over there. I've got electric heat hooked to it, and my power bill jumps way up when I turn it on. Now, in the winter when it gets, usually worst case scenario, it gets in the 20s here, I can keep it 65 degrees in the shop with just the plastic hanging up and the door stays shut, and I leave both units running all day long. And I'll go broke paying the power bill, but it'll keep me warm enough. Now, there will be heat pump. This one won't be, but this one will have the outdoor unit hooked up as soon as I get doors. Yeah, good garage doors are pricey, and I'm going to get insulated garage doors. And also, I built 10 by 10 openings, and 10 by 10 doors are expensive if you go to the RPM Garage. Hey, how's it going? Cleaning the bottom of the building that I picked up in the junkyard. Hopefully I can put one together. I had a 72 in high school. My dad was stationed in Germany. Cool. Yeah, Monty Brown. Hey, what's up, man? Monty's one of my friends on Facebook. The cleaning the bottom of them sucks. I've still got dust all over here with Frankenova. When I did the tip over jig and put it up on the side, the bottom of it was crusting. I should have put wheels on it, or I should have flipped it over outside and cleaned it outside, because there is a layer of crud all over my shop. And I used a grinder with a wire brush wheel attachment in it, and next time I'll just use a grenade or C4 or something, because that took forever and it was messy. Yeah, sometimes it takes 3 cars to. That's kind of what happened with Frankenova. I took 2 or 3 cars apart that were junk cars years ago, and I've had all the parts laying around. My idea for Frankenova was to build a car out of all the spare parts I had, and then I found some problems with some of my spare parts and started buying new stuff, and man, that went off the rails in a hurry. So. Guys, I thought I was going to be on here for 15 or 20 minutes and not have any questions, so I'm very appreciative. Yeah, the rollover stand, yeah. And I thought about doing one of those when I did the tip over jig, but working as much as I do, it's hard to go get all the metal I need and build the roller stuff. I was going to get a tubing roller and build one out of that. And there's a lot of guys that use some farm equipment stuff, some reels and stuff like that. I've seen guys use those to make the. Hey, I've got big thumbs, so whenever I type, if you're using a phone, whenever I type, if it's not for autocorrect, my spelling would be terrible. Hey, what other channels you guys watch on YouTube? I assume everybody watches Scrapyard. Hey, there you go, that helps you out. I'm sure all you guys watch Cletus and all them guys. Finnegan and Uncle Tony. So check out Lunar Outlaw Garage if you haven't watched that. Brian's a good guy. He's got a good channel going. He works on a little bit of everything. He's like a madman with some of his projects. It's interesting to watch. And in DD Speed Shop, I want to find a 55 Chevy, and I want to do a nice, vice grip. Love Derek Fitzy's garage. Man, Fitzy does some. If you're talking about Fitzy's fabrication, yeah, he's done a lot of metal work. Good stuff there. But yeah, DD Speed Shop. He's done a bunch of cool stuff. Favorite car from Roadkill. Hey, Jeff Gordon, how's it going? Digging the Mitten. I like that name. What's your favorite car from Roadkill or Roadkill Garage? Okay, from Roadkill, my favorite episode is probably the two episode part where they went to Alaska. Man, me and my wife do road trips all the time. We last October we drove to Yellowstone. We drove from Georgia to South Dakota. We've driven to Vegas. Drove to Barry Jackson in Arizona. So we love road trips. So driving to Alaska, especially in an old car, would be amazing. But as far as my favorite car for Roadkill, man, the Rotson is cool. Finnegan's 55, man, that thing is pretty cool. The General Mayhem, which, you know, there's a little bit of similarity between Frankenova and the General Mayhem with the orange fender. I'm not sure. I'll think about that. Half-Half Custom Morse, yeah, I've seen all of them. 187 Custom, yeah, Street Race channel, I watch him. Man, they got some fast. I'd like to know what that stuff really runs in the quarter or eighth. I also watch Whistling Diesel some. Even if you don't like what he's doing, the guy's got YouTube figured out. One day maybe I'll get YouTube figured out and do a lot better. I also watch Cars and Cameras. They do like four-wheelers and go-karts and mini bikes. That's a pretty cool channel. Yeah, Fitzy's Fabrications. I know what you meant. Favorite Roadkill car. Man, they've done so many. Like I said, the Alaska episode with the Ranchero is my favorite episode, but probably not my favorite car. I'm not sure. I have to think about it. RPM Garage, okay. Hey, RPM Garage, man, thanks for checking in. Redbeard's Garage, yes, I have seen him. Probably the Rotson. I like the Maserati a lot. I like stuff that they throw together and build. I like road trips. I've got some road trips. Hey, Chevy 714. I didn't think I was gonna see you tonight. TPV Productions. I'm not sure if I've seen that one. I have to check it out. I love road trips, and I've got 2 or 3 road trips planned. I've got one that I've had planned since I started my channel, and if I could ever make that one happen, I'll go to jail. I'm just kidding. It'll be great. It'll be great. Merkin off. I did convert the rear end to the 72 style. I didn't convert the quarter windows, but I did convert the rear end. There's a video on that. Some of that stuff, you know, figuring out YouTube, a lot of it is figuring out what to title your videos. So one thing I figured out, the things that make videos really get more views, there's 2 things you have to do, and I haven't figured them out great yet. But your title and your thumbnail have to be great to get a lot of views. Or you have to have tons of subscribers already. But honestly, every video I put out, only about 25% of the views come from subscribers. No problem, working. All right, we're gonna cut this off here in just a minute. Chevy 1714. How's your car coming? and I thought of something. I'll answer a question I get sometimes. Well, a lot of people ask me where I'm at. Do I daily drive any of the Novas? Not at the moment. The Blue 73. Year before last, I was driving. I hired a new guy, and I put one of my other trucks in service, so I had to drive my 2015 Z71 that my wife had been driving back and forth to work. And I needed that car to drive because I put my new hire in one of my other trucks. So when I did that, my wife drove that back and forth to work pretty much all summer long. 2 or 3 months of the summer in Georgia without air conditioning. She's a trooper. She loves my old cars. And so yeah, we drove that one a pretty good bit daily driving it until we bought her a Jeep. So after that, she yes sir, digging the mitten. Thank you. We love Novas all over the place. Is that MI? That's Michigan, right? I hope. Michigan. Minneapolis is NM. Minnesota's, I don't know, MI, wherever you're at. I think it's Michigan. I failed geography, apparently. But we will drive that car to Daytona every year and back, driven it to the beach. I think I've driven it about 500 miles one way is about the most. I got sidetracked. Okay. Few people ask me, I've had a few people ask me, hey, are you in California? And apparently 209 is an area code in California. So I'll explain the Shop209 name. Couldn't come up with anything better. But 209 was the address in the house I grew up in. It was the street address. I've got 2 sisters, and my mom and dad, we all grew up in about an 800 square foot house, 750 something square feet. There's 5 of us in there. And growing up, we weren't poor, so don't get me wrong. But growing up like that, I'm kind of proud of growing up in a little crappy neighborhood in a small house. It made us all appreciative of what we have. And, I sold that house about 3 years ago. And I figured I'd name my channel Shop209 for my address. In case anybody was wondering, because I pretty frequently I get a question, what part of California are you in? And I'm not. All right, guys. Let's. Any last minute questions? Cool. All right, guys, man. I appreciate everybody checking out, watching the videos. I sincerely appreciate everything you guys do. So I'll have another video out here in the next few days. I've got 2 or 3 pretty cool projects coming up. One of them is going to be, I hope, epic. Maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll suck. But I hope not. But beginning of October, I've got another car coming in the shop that we're going to work on, and we're going to do a build for a certain amount of budget and a certain amount of time, and then it's going on a road trip. So that's going to be a pretty cool build. I've got the 69 Nova. You guys are going to get to see it real soon. This is going to the drag strip hopefully this Friday night. Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it, man. Hopefully this Friday night, if the track is open and the weather's good, and I live till Friday, I'm joking. We'll get this car to the track and go to the drag strip. Hopefully run it without breaking anything or without it running like crap. So. Michael, thank you, sir. All right, guys, maybe we'll do another live feed in the next week or so. We might do it on Sundays. I'm not sure if Sunday's a good night for you guys. Usually it is for me. I'm trying to do anything to avoid thinking about the next day at work, so it'd be a good distraction. What are your thoughts on the hatchback model? Team Nova, welcome to the channel. I'll answer that real quick. On the hatchback model, I like them a lot. The problem is, I've never owned one. I started to buy Spirit of America 74 years ago. I could have got a really good deal on one. And the interior in that thing was mint, but the body had a ton of rust and so did the hatch, and that was 20 years ago. The hatchback Novas are so hard to find parts for that it, you know, it's just, I've looked at a few that I could have got good deals on, but you're either going to turn it into a race car, or you're going to have to hunt and hunt and hunt to find parts for the interior. The hatches are almost all, very, very seldom do you see a hatch that's not rusted out. The glass is different, some of the trim is different around the hatch. Like I said, the interior stuff, the trunk floor, if any of it's real rusty, it's very difficult to find parts for the hatchback and restore one. So I like them fine, it's just trying to find one in good enough condition. Usually if a Nova's real shiny and great condition, it's out of my price range. I like starting with junk and building the car. And I usually end up with junk too. And this 69 will be for sale when I'm done with it. I gotta keep funding the channel. All right, a couple more minutes. Anybody? James Byers. Hey, James. The 69 Nova, it's right there, and I'm working on it. It's going to be, I'm not going to lie, man. Like I said earlier, a while ago in the video, the trunk pan took forever to get, and it's a whole bunch of work. It's a lot of work, I ain't gonna lie, and it was more work than I thought it was going to be. Mainly because where the trunk pan goes over into the floor pan area and the transition with the back of the seat area, the inner wheel houses, the frame rails, getting all of that stuff squared up and straight is a pain in the butt. And the roof, the quarters, all of that stuff, getting it lined up. The car was hit on the driver's side, and trying to make all that work was a lot more work. So it's a long, detailed video. I think I got the last one down when I started taking all the metal off. I think I got it down fairly short, but it was a lot of work to get that video edited down to that amount of time. And I don't know how you guys feel about the longer videos. I know a lot of detail is good, but I did 2 videos on the 307. I did one where it was the full build on the 307. Other than some footage I lost of putting the pistons in, but I was able to save. I had a couple of pistons I put in on video, but that video ended up being over an hour, and it got a lot of views, but not like a shorter video does. So I like keeping the videos fairly short, but the truth is, some of this stuff, it's hard to condense it down into a short video and give any good information, which is why when I did the test stand and the startup video, you see me kind of throwing the engine together. RPM Garage, no problem. Hey, a whole floor end, do you have any suggestions on which brand is better? AMD. Honestly, I don't know if anybody else is making, I think Sherman might make a whole floor, but as far as I know, I could be wrong here, guys. As far as I know, you've got AMD has their tooling that has their stuff made for them. And some of the stuff, if you go to AMD, some of the stuff is not theirs. They're selling other brands of stuff, and it's the same stuff you buy somewhere else. They will tell you on their website that some of the parts are AMD or not AMD parts. It's obvious to me because I don't look for it. I can't remember what it is now, but some parts are not AMD parts. But they do sell some parts that are not AMD. As far as I know, AMD has its tooling. Goodmark may have some proprietary tooling that is theirs, but most aftermarket sheet metal is all made in Taiwan, not China. And it is mostly made, I think, by Golden Legion or somewhere like that. It might be Korea, but I think it's Taiwan. Most of that stuff is all made by the same company. And the AMD stuff might be made by the same company, but I know they're here in Georgia, and I've talked to a couple of guys when I went up there and bought parts. And super nice guys. And most of theirs, I think they left Goodmark originally and started their company, and they used their own tooling. So it is a better quality on some of the stuff I've used. Now the roof panel on the 69 is a Goodmark, and it fit great. James Byers, do you have any t-shirts for sale? I'm going to put, I do one of my videos, I think I have a link, a Redbubble link, which is a print on demand thing. You go there and buy it, they immediately make it and send it to you. I have t-shirts on there with Frank and Nova on it. I'm going to do some Shop209 stuff. If you guys like the logo, I'll print some stuff with that logo on it. If not, I'm going to come up with a new logo. I just haven't thought of anything good. Actually, I almost changed the name of the channel, but I'm going to leave it like it is for now. But yeah, I'll put a link in the description of this video after we get through live. I'll put a Redbubble link. You can click on there. It's not a great price. It's like $25, but with being print on demand, it's a good shirt and it looks good. Some of my videos I wear one, but it's not a, it's high quality stuff, but if you pick a certain quality shirt, printing one at a time or two at a time, something like that, the price is like $25. And I think I get $6 of that, which I'm not complaining about. If I was doing this for money, I wouldn't be doing this. Yeah, I'd love to do it for money, but not in the cards. All right, I'm going to cut it off at 9 o'clock. We got 9 minutes left. Every time it gets down to like 10 people, 5 or 6 more jump back on. So, yeah, I didn't think I was going to be on this long, but this is pretty cool. Don't be sorry, Brett. Any software for engine build logs, maybe built-in dyno free. I used to use desktop dyno, and most of your dyno software, and now they have a proliferation of information. Yeah, tongue twister. A big dumb redneck from Georgia, it's hard to say complicated $5 words. There's a lot of information out there now, and a lot of these dyno programs that are available have specific part numbers for heads and stuff in there with published flow numbers. And I don't put a lot of stock in that. What I think you can learn from a desktop dyno or a computer dyno is the same thing you learn from a real engine dyno or a chassis dyno. Well, it's not the same. It takes the camshaft profile and your valve opening and closing events, your load separation, stuff like that, and it will help you determine maybe some shift points, maybe some RPMs, some stuff like that, but it is so generic and it's so best case scenario. It's about like using a horsepower ET calculation where you take the weight of your car and the horsepower and you find out how fast your car can go. Well, if your car is 100% efficient, that'll work great, but your car is not 100% efficient. Now, some of these super stock guys that build their cars and they've worked on the chassis for 10 or 15 years and dialed in every ounce of horsepower, and they're running 10s with 350 horsepower. That's impressive. Yeah, you can do that. But computer dynos, to me, they help you figure out kind of where your motor is going to make power, but I don't think they're real accurate on power. They might be, but Ryan D1207 just found your channel. Inherited my grandfather's 71 Nova last year. Cool. My first Nova was a 71, and I wish I could find it again. Joe DeLeon, my buddy Joe. Y'all should see what he does. Maybe I'm gonna get one of his cars over here. Man, he does. He's local to me. All original car can have repump quarters, firewall. If you're the same Joe DeLeon, you might not be the same Joe DeLeon. Tell me if you are. An all original car can have repump quarters, firewall, and so on. Does it need to be all original from the factory only? Okay, I'm not sure what you're asking. If a person tells me a car is all original, some people mean that it's never been rusted out, no panels replaced, and it's got the original motor and transmission interior. It's never been molested, and even original paint. Now, I call that car a survivor, or a completely unrestored, unmolested car. Some people mean all original means it's got all the original motor and transmission in it. It's never been molested, never been hot rodded. Some people think all original means the body's original and never been replaced. So, to me, all original means original motor, transmission, your rear end, with maybe a camshaft or exhaust or something. I don't, man, it means so many things to so many different people. 117,000 miles, it's just getting broken in, Ryan D. What time do I think the Nova will run with a 307 build at the track? I'm hoping that motor is making, and I answered this earlier, I'm hoping that motor is making around 325 to 350 horsepower. Maybe I'm overestimating that, but Bicycle Garage, he built one, took it to an actual engine dyno, and made right at 300 horsepower with some junk heads. Well, the heads might not have been junk, the valve springs were junk, and he just did a cheap rebuild on the thing. My machining is probably better than his just because this thing was bored, it's all press cylinders, it wasn't just, bottle brush honed, digger ball honed. I had this rotating assembly valves, I had a torque plate honed, and hopefully the valve springs, the cam is bigger. I'm hoping it's making more power than that. So if it does, I hope it'll run, hey Joe, yes it is you, yes. I'm hoping it'll run in the 12s eventually, because I think in a Nova, a third gen Nova with 350 horsepower, I think 12s is easy enough with the setup I've got and a good gear converter. But I think it'll run, pretty sure it'll run 13s without any issues. Yeah, a lot of guys get hung up on Joe, thank you. My buddy Joe, man, he does some cool stuff with cars. I think he just changed. He had a Volkswagen. He had a rat rod Frankenstein of a truck. I'm not even sure what it was. As part of it had a 307 in it, I believe. He had a 55 or 56 Chevrolet truck that was a death trap. I was afraid he was going to die in it because it was hacked together. He traded a Volkswagen or something. He trades everything. He doesn't buy anything, and he trades stuff. And then he had a Volkswagen. He had a Zombie Herbie Volkswagen, and he traded that for something else, and then bought another Volkswagen, and it looked like a Ford GT paint job. He does some pretty cool custom stuff. Then he had a Mercedes. I didn't even get to see the Mercedes. I think he just traded it for an S10. I'm not sure. According to his Instagram. So, but I would love to just let him have a Nova for a week and see what he would do to it. All right, guys, a few more minutes. Any other questions? So I'm also thinking about a Pro Street build. One of the guys asked earlier, I can't remember who, Pro Touring. I'm definitely doing the Pro Touring. I'd like to do a Pro Street build, a back half car. Pro Street is dead, and then Pro Street is not dead. Pro Street dies every year or two, but it never dies. Pro Street is never going away. Too many people like those cars. And I've never had a Pro Street car. I'd probably like to try to build one. But I'm going to do a Pro Touring build, Pro Street build. I'd like to do a pretty much stock, not a stock build, but a clone, maybe a tribute car or something like that. I've got some ideas. Hey Shark, what's up? What is the preload? Okay. If the lifter was there, what I do is I've got a video on adjusting valve lifters, and everybody's a little bit different. The ideal lifter preload, I think, is right at 30 thousandths. And on a 3/8 24 stud, which is your stock rocker stud, and if your heads are stock and you put roller rockers on there, make sure that when you tighten them down, the bottom of the rocker doesn't hit if you don't have screw-in studs, make sure it doesn't hit the boss. I was originally going to use roller rockers on this motor, and the old Crane roller rockers I've got, they're a mixed set of 1.5s and 1.6s, and they're like from the 80s. I've had them forever. The bottom of the 1.5s, I think, were sculpted different, and they would fit with the stock stud towers. but the 1.6s would not, or vice versa. So make sure you're not hitting that. But I watched my video on adjusting valves. I tighten the rocker arm down until the push rod doesn't have any up or down movement at all, and or just maybe just a tiny bit, and then a full turn on a 3/8 thread 3/8 thread stud is 40 thousandths, so 42 thousandths, something like that. So half a turn is going to be 21 thousandths. So usually around half a turn is enough, and that's where you want to be. Yes, when I do the 307, I'm going to try to go live when I go to the drag strip at some point. Frankenova, it might not. It depends on who goes with me. I can't do the video while I'm in the car. My wife is going to film it. I'm going to have the GoPro there. I have a GoPro in the car. I'm going to have a GoPro at the track. I'm going to try to have multiple people there filming from different places. So I'm going to try to. Evil Goat, Javier Mira, man, if you guys need a rendering of your Nova, Javier Mira is the guy. Go to Facebook, go to Bonneville Art and Designs. Hopefully I spelled that right, Javier. Hopefully I'm saying your name right, Javier. It's Mira, I hope. Joe, nitrous or turbo on what? Yes, both. I like both. Frankenova's the best. And Javier is from Argentina. I would love one day, I'm going to build a Nova, and I'm going to do like a Series 2, maybe a Series 2. It always looks like it needs an S on it, because I'm a dumb American. Just kidding. The Argentine Novas, instead of having they made this body style, the 68-72 body style, until like 1980. It's crazy. They didn't go with the 73 or the Disco Nova style. But their turn signals ended up in the headlight bezel here, which is super cool. The headlight bezel right here. So, 454, okay, the Sharp. So if you put, the pitch may be different, but I would still, usually your cam companies will have that on their website. Usually hydraulic stuff is all about a half a turn to 3/4 a turn past zero lash. Greg McElhaney, I hope I said that. Looking forward to any drag race videos posted. Would like to hear more about your ETs you run, converter setup, etc. Yeah, so I've got an FTI converter in this thing. It's around a 4,000 stall. You know, they advertise 3,800 to 4,000 or 4,200. It really depends on how much your car weighs and what kind of torque you're making and stuff like that, what the actual stall speed will be. I've had this one up to 3,500 foot braking it with no problem, and I don't have a trans brake, so it's going to stall when it stalls. Mr. Waffles has a 68 Chevy Nova, Grandpa built, 454. Telling me if you know how to wet sand. Okay. 78 in Argentina. Thank you, Javier. All right, Mr. Waffles. Wet sand. So if you're doing a single stage paint job, which is where your clear and your color are in the same mix, I don't have a lot. I'm not a great paint guy. I've got a good friend who is an amazing painter. He painted that, and if I would have done the body work better, it wouldn't be bubbling up now because his paint job was fantastic. I did all the work except for the paint. But as far as wet sanding, if you have a single stage paint where the clear and the color are in the same paint or the same mix, you can wet sand that. I wet sanded my primer before I would paint. Like I wet sanded that before we put the silicone paint on to make sure it's smooth. But that was just wet sanding with 600 grit to make sure we had a nice good surface. As far as wet sanding paint, I don't know that much about it. Base coat, you spray base coat on, and hopefully you don't have to wet sand base coat because it's pretty hard to screw that up from the little bit of experience I have. And then you put your clear on, and then you wet sand the clear, or you polish the clear, depending on. There's some bugs flying around my phone. The Shark. Okay, cool. You got a vid up. I'll have to watch that. I want to see what you did in yours. I am subscribed to you, Shark, but I don't get a lot of chance to watch stuff. So they made the Argentine Nova until 78. It was the same body style for 10 years. Okay, so Javier, did the 68, did the Argentine Nova have the 68 dash that we had here, or is it the same dash we had in the 70-72? And is it a Series 2 or Series 2? I have questions. And I'll be doing a lot of, like I said, as soon as I can, I don't have a car trailer, that's part of my problem. I need to say, stop buying Novas and buy garage doors and a car trailer, that's what I need to do. All right, a few more minutes. I keep saying that, but I'm having fun. Jose Mendez, please, I hope I'm saying that right. 75 SS, cool. Man, like I said, I'd like to have a 76, 77 Nova. I don't like the square headlights in the 79. The shop I used to work at, we had a guy that was a customer that bracket raced his 79. He had put Recaro seats in it, power windows, power locks. He had Holley fuel injection, the old Excel Ram or whatever it is. It was the funny looking, it was a bad car. Oklahoma, Shane Wells, how's it going? Good, Jose, thank you. And this setup works pretty good. I might try to do the live feed a little bit different next time if I can get my internet to work good in the shop. Paint system are using to paint the blue Nova. It seemed electric. Okay, so the color on that is a Lexus Toyota color. It's, I want to say it's called, I used to know the name of the color. It's called Lexus Blue. That's how I found it. It's like 9354 or 9453 2, something like that. Sad that he died early. With an extra 457 gut for it out of the car. I was watching these to gain some knowledge. Put it back together from a 4 square fuel injection setup right now with a scoop and tips to building it. It depends on what you're doing. Like I said, if you do a, without seeing it, it's hard to tell. Just take your time, watch YouTube videos, and don't believe everything you see on YouTube. Lots of guys on YouTube have plenty of knowledge. Some guys, including me, believe certain things that may not be the best for your particular situation. There are certain things I do that I've done forever and I'm not going to change, even though I know, like when I put my spindles on, I don't torque my bearing preload. I set that by feel, and machine the painter. Oh, the sprayer? Is that what you mean, Shane? The sprayer? For the Argentine market, another dashboard was designed, a very complete one with speedometer, RPM temperatures. Cool. If you get a chance, I'll be there. Send me a picture of one of those. I'd like to see what it looks like. Send it to me. Just Facebook message me. And on the plastic dip, Shane, if that's what you're talking about, yeah. So what I use, plastic dip, dipyourcar.com, Fonzie. I watch all their videos because I'm fascinated with plastic dip because it's pretty cool. It's they have a machine that comes, I bought it, it's like a little vacuum cleaner, it's like a shop vac in reverse. It comes with a sprayer that you buy. You can buy that separately with the kit. They've got two models. They've got a cheaper one, which is one I use, and they have a nicer one that you can use and probably get better results. I understood, Mr. Waffle. But I use the plastic dip, dipyourcar.com. I use their little plastic dip gun to spray the plastic dip. As far as painting, I'm going to be doing I've got a DeVilbiss Finish Line regular HVLP kit that I use for my regular painting. And I've got a new thing I'm going to try here when I paint. I don't know if I'm going to paint the 69 first or repaint the 73. But when I do that, I've got a new thing I'm going to use. All right, guys. Any more questions before I turn this thing off? It's after 9, so. I've seen other people do live feeds for a couple hours. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'll be lucky if I'm on here 20 minutes. 2 hours later, here we are. The OptiFlow, so the OptiFlow thing, I've thought about using that. I really did. Bradley's building junk. He's working on a Camaro, and he does some pretty cool stuff. He used the OptiFlow stuff on his Camaro, and it looked really easy. And there's no spray all over the shop. That's great. I thought about using it, but I had already bought all the stuff. I was going to use it for the 69, but I had already bought all the stuff that I was going to use on it already, and didn't want to abandon that. Back up to 18 viewers. Let's keep going. Andrew S., how you doing? Mint Original 74 Nova, that's cool. I've had one that was, I bought a 72 Nova back in the late 90s, and it was all original. 307, 2-barrel, exhaust, interior. It was in great condition. I still got the title and the protector plate for it, because in Georgia you don't need titles. I sold it with a bill of sale, and then later I found the title for it. And I think after about 95 or 96 in Georgia, you couldn't get a title for old cars anymore. So I ended up selling it, but it was all original. I put a motor in it before I sold it. For that car, what did I pay for what? Yeah, and then, you know, Shark, if you're doing any kind of filler primer, if you don't have your gun setting or a lot of experience, you don't have your gun setting right or a lot of experience, it's going to go on a lot rougher. Oh, you're interested in selling mint conditioner? I'm not interested in buying though. I've got too many Novas now, and I'd like to stay married, so I'm not buying any more right now. But thank you. It was your grandfather's? Cool. My grandmother had a 69 or 70 Dodge Dart Swinger. 2-door things. Cool. I guess Swingers were all 2 doors, but. Let's see. Andrew, is yours a hatchback or is it a trunk car? Yeah, Shane, I'll put my email address in the thing. Some people have emailed me some stuff. I'll put it in there, or you can contact. Look at my Facebook. Go to my Shop209 Facebook page and send me a message. 99,000 miles on a trunk car, cool. Yeah, the darts, for whatever reason, the darts, it's hard to get one. Craig's got that 1970, he's got another one. I think he's got 2, he's either got a 69 or 70. And he's got a 4-door to match it, because the front clip was smashed on the green one he's got. And he found a 4-door green one with a good front clip, so we're gonna change that one day. But the price on the Mopars is ridiculous. Chevrolets are getting that way. And the darts aren't coming up as fast as everything else, but they're slowly coming up. A yellow color, cool. But yeah, Shane, send me a message on my Shop209 Facebook, and we'll talk. You send pictures of that. Any of you guys like the Henry J video? Yes, the body did stay the same forever, and all they changed was the front and the back a little bit and made them uglier, which is what a lot of people say about the Novas. So, what's behind me? This is a 74 Nova that I converted the front and rear to the 72 style. pretty much everything in 73 went to a different bumper. 74, the shock absorbers happened on all the manufacturers. Everybody went to it. Some cars, they did better with the look than others. Yes, sir, Shane. Thank you. Thank you for watching. No problem. See, I've got a transmission build video coming up. I've got and I've never built a transmission before, so that'll be interesting, right? I've got a transmission build video coming up. I've got 69 Nova, you know, the video on the quarters and all that stuff getting put on. I've got a big block build I'm working on. I've got a Terminator fuel injection install coming up. The rear seat back hold down bolts. So it latches at the top, and on the bottom it's got the 2 rings. You're talking about the upper back, because the bottom place just snaps in. I don't know. I've taken apart enough cars where I've got 4 or 5 boxes of what I keep all my original bolts, my factory GM stuff, in several boxes. And what I do is I put them all in a box, and then if I need a bolt, I have a pretty good memory, so I remember what the bolts look like. You know, they got the big washer and are a certain length. You don't have to have the factory bolts, but as long as you know the thread, I think it's a 5/16, it might be 1/4 inch, with a big fender washer on it, you'll be fine. I've got some videos planned on the Henry J coming up. I know you guys love the Novas, but I want to work on the Henry J some. Stock 10-bolt rear end, strong enough for decent power, this is swap, forget about it. Okay. There's 2 10-bolts. So there's more than 2. In the Novas, there's really 2 that you need to focus on. There's the 8.2 10-bolt and the 8.5 10-bolt. And I've got a video about the rear ends, kind of goes into this. The rear end that is in this car originally had I bought it from my old boss. He had a 72 Nova with a 468 big block in it, with a 250 shot on it. And he had this rear end in it that had these axles and a factory posi with a gear spacer, because it was a 2-series posi, and a 373 gear in it. He had all of that in there, and he had C-clip eliminators on it, and was running low 10s in the quarter with the nitrous, and it never broke. And then I took it and I ran low 12s in the quarter in that car. It was in that car, and it was together for 20 years, I think. I mean, that was in 90. He had it in 96, and he swapped the rear end out, and I think it went to a 9-inch, and swapped the rear end out in 97 or 98. I bought it and swapped it in my car in the early 2000s, and I just took it apart a few years ago. The only thing I did was change the gear, and I drove it with a 342 gear in that car for 5 or 6 years. And then when I did when I built the rear end for this car, I used that housing because I wanted to take the C-clip eliminators off of that car, so I didn't have to worry about them leaking and driving. So I built a new rear end for that car, and I put the other one in here with a different gear deposit. But the 8.5-inch 10-bolts hold tons of power. They're pretty much as strong as a 12-bolt. The axles in a 12-bolt are 30 spline, and it's got a 1/4 inch larger ring gear. Everything else is the same. The pinion is the same size, and all that stuff. So if you put good axles in 8.5-inch 10-bolt, and you put a strong posi unit in there, you can beat the snot out of it. I'd have the axle tubes welded. You don't want to break one of those, but I didn't in this one. But you know, I'm not making a bunch of power. The 8.2 10-bolt. Traction is the biggest thing that's going to kill it, or wheel hop. If you wheel hop any of these cars, you're going to break something. The carrier, when it's under load, is trying to push the caps out of the back of the car. So what happens is, on an 8.2 10-bolt, you'll probably shred the pinion, but if you break any of these things, what will happen is, when the car wheel hops, and you get if you have traction, or if you don't, and it wheel hops, the shock on the carrier trying to come out changes the distance between the pinion and the ring gear, and what happens is you change the load on it, and you start getting real heavy shock loads on the pinion, it'll break that. Or if you've got one of the Ford Mustangs with independent rear suspension with the aluminum housing, it'll just bust the caps off of it. I had a friend have that happen. You only have one yet. You could probably find something. $900 to get a 10-bolt built with a Posi 342, that's a pretty good price, because by the time you buy a Posi, which is $400 or $500, you buy the gear kit, which is a couple $100, and an install kit, which is another $100. You're going to have $800 in it real quick, so $900 is a good deal. Yes, sir. Let me know when you do. All right, Shane, so I answered this question earlier. I've had several people wanting to work on the cars, and I've actually given some people prices. My biggest thing is, a guy named Jason wants me to do a front and rear swap on his car. But my biggest thing is I barely have time to do my videos. I would love to do this for a living. If I could build my YouTube up, man, I'd be doing this for a living. I would love to work on customer cars. I don't have any liability insurance to work on customers' cars. I don't want to, if my neighbors, I've already got enough cars here, and we've got a few acres, so it's not real obvious to most of my neighbors. The ones that live right beside me know what I've got, but they don't hate me, I hope. But yeah, if I had more room, I would do it. But if you're in Georgia and you want something small done, sure, I might be interested in something like that. But I would hate for any long-term project to get stuck in my shop. Bring Mountain Dews, that's right, yeah. When do you no longer trust C-clips? Okay, so C-clips, as soon as you put slicks on the car, get rid of C-clip axles. I'm dead serious. I broke one axle one time, and I broke it on the street, and it wasn't even, I was just doing a burnout, and I broke an axle. And what it was, I went into the wheel hop. They didn't have traction bars on the car or anything like that, and it destroyed the side of my station wagon. I had a 79 Malibu station wagon with a 350 and 4-speed in it, which is rare, but it was super cool. It was Dookie Brown. I paid $350 for it, and I drove the piss out of it. My band, I used to carry my drums in the back of it. It was a good fun car, but I got in the wheel hop and broke an axle, and the tire and everything come out and shredded it. So if you've got stock axles, now in that car I put Moser axles, and I'm still using C-clips, but I don't have 300 horsepower in that car. Maybe it's a crate motor. So if I put slicks on that car, I'd be nervous about even with the Moser axles, just because I don't have traction bars on it anymore. It's easy to wheel hop and break an axle. The builder's on Steve Nova has a 65 Nova. You might know him. Who are you talking about, Shane? The Hulk builder is on Steve's Nova site? I'm on Steve's Nova site. What power level ET? Yep. Bring Mountain Dews, yeah, definitely. I quit drinking Mountain Dews for a year, and for a little over a year. Quit drinking all soft drinks, and went to a class and had to sit through a class, a business class, and all they had to drink was Coke and water, and I knew the water wasn't going to keep me awake, and I was really about to go into a coma, so I drank a Coke and slipped right off the wagon. And back up to 20 people watching. I guess you guys, so do I need to start the live feed later next time? Was 7 o'clock Eastern too early? We got 20 people on here. I don't know if it's the same 20 people or new people. If you hadn't been watching the whole time, let me know where you're from. Like I said, if I need to adjust if I can start later next time, that'd be fine. Jeremiah, late to the video. Jeremiah, Frank and Nova's going to the track Friday night. Hopefully you'll be there with me if we're not busy working. My fastest car currently in the quarter mile. I have been 1080s, roughly. I've driven someone else's car that went nines. I don't think I went in the nines. One of the guys I used to work with had a big block Chevrolet powered Mustang. I got to drive one. That was a Super Pro car. But I had a, my 71 I had a 350 with some Sportsman 2 heads on it, and it ran 12 O's in the quarter, and I think I put a 100 shot or 125 shot on it, and I went 1080s. Oakland, California. Landstrom's Zartonal B. Okay, cool, man, thank you. I hope I didn't butcher your name too bad. Yeah, let me do that. Yeah, send me a picture, Mr. Waffles. And y'all can find me on Facebook. I've got a Shop209 page on Facebook. You can message me there. 23, the number's going up. So do I need to post this, do the live feed later next time? Let's see here. Mosquitoes are out. Won't be long now. Tens are awesome. Never considered doing a diesel conversion in a Nova. Fastest street legal diesel truck in Oklahoma. Man, that's badass. I thought about doing a Tesla swap in a Nova because I think it'd be really cool, and it's probably way above my pay grade. I'd like to do it, but yeah, the Cummins swap is a cool diesel swap to do because you got that one wire that stops the whole thing. You just got the fuel cylinder, and that's how you shut it off. It's a pretty cool swap to do. I know a little bit about it, but it's been done, and I don't know a lot about diesels. I'd love to do an all-wheel drive Nova. I would love to do a Tesla Nova. That'd be cool. I've thought about doing a 12-cylinder Nova, and the idea I have is pretty cool, but I've done a bunch of research on it. It wouldn't be your typical 12-cylinder, let's put that away. Yes, sir, Shane. Yeah, hit me up. Do you have a YouTube channel, Shane? And I might be subscribed to it, like I said. My YouTube feed goes, like I said, there's so much stuff. Once you're subscribed to so many people, you don't see all of your stuff in your feed if you don't stay logged in, and I've worked too much to do that. Yeah, I'd like to do a four-wheel drive Nova. It'd be cool to do a Nova on the Gambler 500. I think somebody's already done it a couple times, but of course that's in Oregon. That's almost as far away from here as you can get without getting in the water, unless you go to Alaska, which would also be cool. What part of Oklahoma are you in? Are you close to OK City? You know what scares me about diesels is when they blow up, the whole engine jumps out of the truck and runs away from it like the people do at the same time. It's terrifying. Cool. Yeah, an off-road Nova. Yeah, I'd like to do one. I'd like to do a four-wheel drive Nova and go off-roading. I have an idea for a trip. I'm not going to say here now, but I have an idea for an off-road Nova. Tulsa, Broken Arrow, cool. Yeah, I want to do Rocky Mountain Race Week. They're going to go from Nobles, Oklahoma, Nobles. I don't know if it's an S or not. Down to Ennis, Texas, back up to Tulsa, and then up to Gouda Springs, Kansas. But I'm not going to get to go. Sun goes down. Yeah, you're in California. You're not here. It's dark here now. Cool. Sharp. Have a good night. All right, any more questions? Kenwood will have to burn the diesel there and look for you. Cool. T-Sharp, I'm going to be, thank you for showing up, man. I'm going to be, I don't know why notifications don't go out like that. And I really meant to put a post up yesterday. I wanted to wait until my Ethernet cable showed up, or I thought I was going to have Wi-Fi, and it didn't. I mean, it showed up, so I put the post up this morning or this afternoon that I was going to go live, and then it didn't happen. Frank and Nova was going to go to Rocky Mountain Race Week, but I don't think I'm going to go now. Got some other stuff going on that I got to take care of at home. So still a chance, but it's, and plus I'm on the wait list, and even though a lot of people on the wait list get in, my idea was to get on the wait list, go out, and I'm way down the wait list. I signed up late. My idea was to get on the wait list, maybe get in, and then if I don't get on the wait list, just do road week. Because either way, it looks like a ton of fun. I've wanted to do drag week or one of those things, those type of events for a long time. And Rocky Mountain Race Week looks so cool. But I wanted to do it, and really, for me to go all the way to Oklahoma, borrow my buddy's trailer, load everything out there. I don't have an overdrive. I've got a 410 gear. I have 0 miles on this car. I've got about a mile on it. I've driven it out to the highway near my house and back, and that's about it. So I'm worried that I have any kind of mechanical failure. My wife would be my co-pilot, which she's a trooper, so it wouldn't be a big deal. But I would, I'm not real sure I could get out there and get in, even though I could still do road week. I signed up too late and didn't start planning in time. So I've got schedule stuff that's conflicting, which is probably going to keep me from going. But I will definitely be ready for next year. So drag week, Rocky Mountain Race Week 1.0, if I can get in, I'll try. I've been growing my hair. I hope Cletus would see me and invite me to the La Mullets, but not yet. Favorite year of Nova, 73. Right there, the year I was born, I'm 48. 73 is my favorite year. Even though my first Nova was a 71, my older sister had a boyfriend that had a 74. So I like the look of that's how I got into Novas. And I got that one. Me and my dad worked on that car a bunch. We worked on my 71 too, but we worked on this one a bunch. I met my wife while I was driving this car. So yeah, it's that's how I got the girl. That's how you get the girl. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate that, man. That'd be cool. Yeah, favorite years is 73. Other than that, I really like everything from 62 to 86. Kidding, 62 to 79. But I would love to do like an LS swap on an 86 Toyota Nova. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe weld up the door, turn it into a 2-door, or put a turbo Toyota motor in it. They made a Toyota of that same year that had a performance version. It'd be interesting to try to play with all that. I'm not sure if the chassis, the bodies are exactly the same. I have a lot of ideas and very little money and time, so. And T-Sharp, I'm going to be going live probably once a week. This has turned out pretty good. I've enjoyed myself. So I'm going to try to do, ever let a car go that I dream about or miss? Yeah, my first car, my 71, I sold it. I bought it, drove it, pissed at it for about a year, tore the motor up, I took the motor to my local shop. They gave me a price. Some idiot that worked at AutoZone said, "Oh, my brother has a machine shop. I can do it for half that." Well, half the price, I think half the quality. Put it back in. It had all kind of issues. I kept the motor. Sold the car for $500, and this is in the early '90s, mid '90s. Sold the car for $500. Bought this car. And then my dad died, and I ended up buying the other car back because he couldn't tell me I couldn't have two cars at the house. So I bought the other car back after the guy put a ton of money into it. He got laid off, and I bought it back for, I think, $4,000, and it had a 350 in it with a giant solid cam, dart heads on it, and all he did was build the motor and had a converter and a shift kit and a transmission. Still had the 8.2 rear end, which I've got out here beside the shop. Actually, that rear end is in, it's behind the 72 four-door. I put it under there to roll that car. But I've still got the rear end out of the car. I've got a couple other pieces. And I wish I had that car back. I sold it when I bought it back, I drag raced it for a while. I ended up selling just the body. And it's a 71 Nova. And I can tell you, it's somewhere in Georgia when I sold it in the late 90s. And it's got a, maybe early 2000s. It's got the front spring perch on the passenger side is welded to the floor pan. So if y'all run across a 71 Nova with the front spring perch welded to the floor pan, and it was a factory blue car, might be mine. But also a 79 Firebird. I had a 79 Firebird that had a 400 in it, 69 Ram Air 400, and that car was a blast. I actually found it a while back. I was going to buy it back for a video. Didn't have the motor in it, didn't have any interior in it. We were driving to Savannah, or no, St. Simon's Island, and it was sitting on the side of the road at a salvage yard. And started to buy it back, but my wife talked me out of it, which is fine, and I didn't. But it wasn't going to be the same without all the cool stuff. The White Elephant Street Driven 33 with a manual valve body power glide and a 350 gear. What's a good stall speed? Love the channel. A good stall speed, honestly, without knowing your tire size and your camshaft, I have no idea. But I would suggest you call a converter company and ask them, because you can buy I just bought a converter that says it's 3,800 to 4,200 RPM. And like I explained earlier, you have no idea what it's actually going to stall until you get it in your car with whatever weight it is and whatever power your engine's making. So the best thing you can do is call a converter company, call Cone, call FTI, call one of the good converter companies. Tell them what you've got combination-wise, and they can, for not a lot more money than an off-the-shelf converter, maybe the same money, they can build you a converter, especially if you're street driving, because they'll build you something that'll have a loose stall when you need it, but it's fairly tight down low, and it'll help you out a lot with not slipping, a lot of slippage in just street driving. Shane, does your family like cars? Wife like to drag the kids and all that stuff? Yeah, my whole family likes cars. My wife's got a '78 Camaro that she bought new, and my stepson and stepdaughter, they both love cars. My grandbabies, that was named Blueberry because the 9-year-old told me it was named Blueberry. Got to do it. They love the channel. They think I'm YouTube famous, which is hilarious. But yeah, real supportive. I've always liked cars. My wife loves them. She'll drive. Like I said, she daily drove my Nova for a whole summer when I needed the truck for work. So yeah, we definitely into the car culture thing. How did I learn so much? Okay, so grew up with my dad. I started to do a video on this the other day, especially after some of the Uncle Tony stuff with Dulcich and Freiberger going on. I was going to go on a rant, but I shut up, and I probably won't say anything. All right, so I started buying car magazines in probably about the time I was 14 or 15, so mid-'80s. I started buying car magazines. I read them from front to back, and I read all the tech articles, all this stuff, and I stayed into the magazines. And I've still got almost every magazine I've ever ordered. I had subscriptions to all of them. Super Chevy, Hot Rod, Carcraft, Popular Hot Rodding, Muscle Car Review, I think I had a bunch of those, High Performance Pontiac, Chevy High Performance, just all the car magazines. I read the articles, and then my dad had, you know, we didn't ever have new cars until the 90s. When my dad bought, I've still got his 90 model F-150. He bought that new, and before that we always had used Fords or Chevrolets. He had a 76 Ford truck, he had a 66 Chevy stepside. We had to work on that sometimes on the weekend so he could go to work Monday. And I said we weren't poor, but you know, we didn't have new cars and stuff like that. So I helped him work wrench on stuff. I learned a lot from him. His knowledge was pretty basic, but we changed clutches and stuff like that, U-joints. And then my older sister started dating a car guy, and I got into a lot of stuff with him, and I wanted to learn more. My friends were all getting, I had some older friends in the neighborhood that were all buying cars. And when you're in a lower income neighborhood and you got to buy your own first car, you're probably buying junk, and you got to learn to work on it or you're not going to drive it. So I shadowed them and stayed with them and read magazines. And man, I've got a few hundred car magazines that I still go back and reference articles to. So I'll do a video on that maybe. But self-taught, other than magazines. Now I did work in a shop in '96. I kept hanging out at a local shop, and because they worked on race car stuff, and I was drag racing some, and I kept going by there to ask questions. And finally, one of the mechanics left, and the owner, Felston, told me, he said, "Hey man, bring your toolbox to work." I said, "I'm not a mechanic." He said, "I haven't hired a mechanic in a long time." He said, "But I've had a few leave, so you know enough, you can come to work." So I was terrified, went to work at the shop, started doing brake jobs, and their manager Kenny threw a 85 Cadillac with a 4100 in it at me and said, "It needs a camshaft." And man, did I get my ass kicked. And if Kenny's watching this, he's laughing right now. That car came back every day for a week or two. I tried to buy it from the lady. I hated that. I'd like to buy one now and burn it. I hate, But, so I worked there at the shop, and I learned a ton from those guys. From the other mechanics that worked there, I broke a lot of stuff and learned a lot what not to do, and we worked on everything, a little bit of everything. So I did that, car magazines, self-taught, and you know, I'm not afraid if it's broken when I get there and it's broken when I leave, I probably didn't screw up too bad. Middle rust to mod, never thought there could be so much rust in a hatchback. I think hatchback nova is a Latin phrase for rusted pile of crap. Fiberglass pin on, thank you David, I appreciate that. Todd Dawson, how can I be positive that the floor firewall trunk pin that I'm putting in my 71 is located correctly before I weld it all in? Okay. Wow. So you can buy if you have the skill, and if you're going to do that, maybe you do. What I would try to do is, you know, a lot of people worry about welding braces and stuff in and all this stuff. And if you follow Midwest Nova Kings on Facebook, man, they build Novas. They're booked up for the rest of the year, or a year and a half, something like that, crazy. But they do an amazing amount of work. They're cheap. So if you need cheap amount of work, they do a bunch of work. And they do high quality stuff, it seems to be. I've never had any stuff done by them. I don't know anybody that's had to work, but I follow them on Facebook, and they're doing a good job. Every once in a while you'll see somebody say, "Hey, why didn't you brace that stuff up?" Well, if you brace up a car that's rusted and rotting and it's been sitting for 30 years, you might be bracing it crooked. It might be all cattywampus, and if you're not in the South, I'm not sure if you know what cattywampus mean, but racked or twisted. It might be all kind of out of, I mean, these things, sagging springs, everything else, you have no idea what shape, that's a pun, what shape the car is in. So if you put in a whole bunch of bracing, in my opinion, you might be forcing the car crooked and then trying to put new body panels on it, and then you're going to scream and yell about how these reproduction foreign-made body panels suck. And maybe they do, but some of it might be the fact that you have braced the car. So, in my opinion, the best way to do it is build you a jig, get a Fisher body manual. It's got the datum lines, I don't know if I'm saying it. It's got all the measuring points for the bottom of the car. It centers off, I think, the rear leaf spring mounts and the frame rails, the subframe mounts and a few other places. It's got all the measurements in the Fisher body manual. And you can go by that. You can build a jig to hold those parts in place, and then the rest of it, you kind of test fit everything and overlap panels, and then you blow it, make sure everything's straight, adjust where you need to, blow it back apart, weld the inside stuff in place, and then start putting your outside stuff on, and you test fit and test fit and test fit before you find a weld. That's my advice on bracing them up or locating correctly where everything is. Instagram page. I've got a personal Instagram page, and I might do that. Apparently, I need to do that. Hey, Infamous Nova, what's going on? What style fans do you use in the shop to keep cool? Is my shop air conditioned? Yeah, we're in Georgia. The heat and humidity is brutal. It's 112, 113 degrees with a heat index some days. If you'll look right over my shoulder right there, there's a little, like a carpet fan up there. I use that, and it really blows really well. It sucks when I'm out here in the summer doing videos, because if I turn the fan on, my GoPro external microphone picks up everything, and it's loud as hell. And I go back and try to edit the video. There's been plenty of times I've wanted to stop and show what I was doing, but I've just put music over it because the fan was on. So I've got plans when I get the doors, insulated doors up, I'm gonna finish installing my air conditioning. I need a hatch back. You need the hatch? Good luck. Fiberglass one or make one out of scrap. I'm just kidding. How do I get or find my Novas? I'm going to do a video on how to find a cheap Nova. I'm going to do a video on that. So I will give you this amount. Since I don't want to ruin the video because it is coming out this week, I'm going to talk about how to find a cheap Nova, and that's probably going to come up Wednesday or Thursday. I've got to finish figuring out all the bullet points I want to go over. But if you're looking on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, you're probably too late. That's what I'll say. You're probably not going to get the best price, because if it's already advertised for sale, you're going to pay more than what you should. But you know, I kind of went over that in my Nova prices video. You can look that up. Nova, yes sir. I've talked about the body work we did earlier. The 69 Nova's behind the camera there, and it's just taken so much work. It took me forever to get the trunk floor, and it's the trunk floor. I underestimated how much work that was. I had never done one before, and it's a lot of work. So plus with me being real busy with work, summer's over now, so I can start churning out videos more. Weird areas to replace. Weird areas to replace, what I usually do is I just make small patches that I need. Fisher body manual. Fishing body. Yes sir, Shane, let me know. Alright, I'm about done here. All right, guys, any last minute questions? I think I answered everybody, I hope. All right, guys, cool. All right, let's cut it off here. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for watching. If you got any more questions, leave them in the comments of this video after we get off the air here, and we'll figure out. Do you have any steering component videos? No, I don't. I'm gonna try to do some. I do have one where I rebuilt the subframe for this car, and I put all new components on the front. I can't remember how in depth I got with that, but the budget build I'm going to do, I've got an X amount of dollars I'm going to spend on a Nova, and I'm going to do it in a certain amount of time. It's going to be a cool video, and I've got to rebuild the front end on that car, so there will be a video on that. Excuse me. But listen, guys, thanks. If you have any more questions, leave them in the videos comments on this video. I'm going to try to do a, thanks, David. I'm going to try to do another live video next week. We'll see if it's Sunday night. And like I said, if you think I need to do it later, I'll do it later. But anyway, appreciate it. You guys have a good night. Thanks.